We might not notice it, but the world is changing really, really fast. Biotechnology, robotics, nanotechnology, every day, somewhere on Earth, some discovery is being made. Discoveries that will make our lives longer, more comfortable, and generally just much better. We could almost say, dear viewer, that we are on board a high-speed train bound for the future. There are already companies in existence today which look like they could have come straight out of a science fiction movie. Would you like some examples? Well then, are you familiar with Organovo? It's a truly incredible company. It's listed on the NASDAQ and its business is no less than the bioprinting of tissues to implant into the human body and thus eliminating the need for organ transplants. Can you imagine printing a liver? It's truly remarkable stuff. And what about the company Modern Meadow? This startup's aim is to produce leather and meat without having to kill any animals. They want to produce their own steaks in a lab and then take them to the supermarkets. The big question is, though, would you eat it? And how about another example? Ever heard of Illumina? It's the largest company dedicated to DNA sequencing in the world. Among other targets, they are trying to detect cancer before any of the symptoms appear. It's almost unbelievable, isn't it? Well, these are only 3 of hundreds of companies which are literally building the future today. But you know what? Organ printing, DNA sequencing, that's not really the best part. The best part is the end of poverty is getting closer every day, and the reality is that it's already right around the corner. And listen, we're not just talking about extreme poverty here. On the contrary, current realities like hunger or not being able to eat meat or not having access to healthcare or even not being able to go on holiday are going to be rare and very infrequent in the near future. And by near future, we mean this is going to be a reality in probably just a few years. Alright, so now some of you must be thinking, Simon's finally lost it. It's all down here for VisualPolitik from here. Well, no, actually I haven't lost my mind. In fact, here with all of you as witnesses, I am willing to bet you that in the next year we will experience the best period of prosperity in the history of mankind. And I'm certainly not the only one who shares this opinion. Listen to what Warren Buffett, the investment genius, has to say about it. Or how about Barack Obama as well?
If you had a choice of when to be born, and you didn't know ahead of time who you were going to be, what nationality, whether you were male or female, what religion, but you said when in human history would be the best time to be born, the time would be now.
Well, I'm here to tell you even more. This wave of prosperity will bring opportunities we've never even thought of before. Alright, but for the skeptics, here are the numbers. It is estimated that by the end of 2016, 3.2 billion people are already going to be in the middle class, and each year more than 140 million people will make it into this select club. It is as if every year a group of people the size of the population of Mexico are leaving poverty behind. Note here that this process is accelerating, and it's expected that by 2020, that's just 3 years from the time of this video coming out, that most of the world's population will belong to the middle class. This growth in the middle class will mean that the poor will finally be in the minority. But before I continue, I am sure you might be wondering, how exactly do you define middle class? Since income levels vary from country to country, when we talk about middle class, what we're talking about is people who can afford to have a varied diet, people who can face and cover unexpected expenses as well as education, and people who can buy an automobile. These people, they might not be rich, but they definitely aren't poor anymore. And this is a brand new thing in the history of mankind. So now that you have an idea of how things are changing today, let's have a look at the historical perspective. When Napoleon was fighting everyone in Europe, only 2 million people could be considered middle class. That is less than half of the population of Singapore today. A pretty tough situation for the vast majority of people who were living at that time. Well, since then, 150 years have passed, but it wasn't until the 1970s that the number of people in the middle class passed the 1 billion people mark. Today, the number is about 3 billion, and by 2021 it's expected to reach 4 billion. And as I mentioned, the process, it's getting faster and faster every single day. And this new middle class, they're going to make an impressive entrance. Don't believe me?
And as we have these billions of people emerging into a global middle class, they need to be fed, they need to be housed, they need power, they need transport, they want to travel and see the world. So there are tremendous opportunities for an expansion of economic activity to meet their needs.
Yes, the city you're looking at right now is Hanoi, which is the capital of Vietnam, the country in the world where capitalism is actually most liked. That's according to a recent study from the Pew Research Center. Seems like we in the West might have some catching up to do. In fact, the majority of this new middle class, they're coming from Asia. Almost 9 out of every 10 new people who make it to the middle class live in Asia, the continent of the economic booms and the growing epicenter of power on Earth. You just have to take a look at countries like the Philippines or Thailand. In just a few years, these countries' middle classes will be as big as those in the UK, France, and Italy. Yes, they will remain poorer countries, but the growth of the middle class, it's still very impressive. But do you want to know how things are really changing? Well, this is Jakarta. And think of what that means for the companies, but that's something we're going to get into later. But out of all these countries, one is making a particularly big difference, and that's China, whose middle class has absolutely exploded. According to estimations by McKinsey analysts, if in 5 years this amount of people were to create, say, the Chinese Republic of middle-class citizens, this country would be the 3rd most populated country in the world. Not bad, eh? So, if you want to know what these changes really mean, take a look at Chongqing, the most populated city in China. Because of the growth of the middle class, these people now have money available to buy all kinds of products: clothing, electronics, cars, and of course, travel. And now you can probably understand why the countries in Asia, especially China, are so important for multinational companies.
China's largest online ride-hailing platform, Didi Chuxing, says it's received $1 billion from US tech giant Apple.
Pay close attention to this data because it's probably interesting if you're starting a business. It is estimated that the spending growth of the Chinese in the next 4 years alone will exceed what the British or Germans spend. So if you, our VisualPolitik friends, have a company, you might want to think about investigating the Asian market because many opportunities will appear in the next few years. The consequences of this aren't just an opportunity to make money and do more business. Probably the most important consequence of this middle class expansion is that we will live in a happier world. Let me explain. You've probably heard the phrase, money doesn't make you happy. Well, actually, according to recent research, this is not entirely true. In 2010, Angus Deaton and Daniel Kahneman, both winners of the Nobel Prize in Economics, presented a paper which proved that up to the figure of $75,000 a year, happiness and income were very closely related. Meaning more income equals more happiness up to $75,000 a year. I mean, this makes sense. With more money, you don't have to worry about making it to the end of the month, paying your bills, and not having enough to eat, as well as not being able to take your family to the doctor, and etc., etc. So according to these two academics, the expansion of the middle class is leading to a happier world. But wait just a minute, because there is more. More middle class means more educated people. This means more researchers, more entrepreneurs, more ideas, more innovation, and therefore more progress. Well, today in China, there are more college students than in the United States. Remember the companies that we saw at the beginning of this video? Well, soon enough, there are going to be plenty more of those. Now you may be wondering, is this all really as wonderful as we're describing in VisualPolitik? How come people such as Donald Trump and Le Pen are so popular then? Well, this middle-class boom is not happening in all parts of the world. Therefore, it's really important we understand that if Western economies aren't working perfectly or are having problems, they should take responsibility for it and stop blaming it on other countries. There are plenty of opportunities in the global economy, and now is the time to adapt and seize them. But now I can probably guess what you're thinking. Is all of this growth really sustainable? Won't all of this progress and development destroy the environment or cause other such problems? Well, that's not exactly clear. It is true that in theory, more middle class means more spending and therefore more consumerism and more pressure on natural resources, etc. But there are some things to consider. First, more middle class also means more people in big cities, and the consumerism here is usually more sustainable. Transport is the most evident example. While public transport is frequent in large cities, it is rare in small places. More middle class also means faster demographic transition, so more women study and work, and so the population tends to shrink as well. And above all, more middle class means, as we said before, more ideas and more innovation, and among these things are often ideas which allow more sustainable consumerism. So, however we want to approach this situation, and although there is certainly a lot of room for advancement and improvement, we think that this really is a time in history when we should all be feeling rather positive. But that's our opinion here at VisualPolitik, and now we would like to know what you think. Do you believe we are moving towards a better world? Do you think that Asia can be a land of opportunity for businesses? Well, do let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, please do hit that thumbs up button below. And don't forget to subscribe for brand new videos every Monday and every Thursday. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.